Coogs House, the forever Cougs might not last forever, but I think they should. Here's why.
You are Locked On Cougs, your daily podcast on the Houston Cougars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Coogs. I'm your host, Parker Ainsworth. Each and every day here at Locked On Coogs, or I'm getting thrown off because I have audio playback going. I think I had the window up another window, but I'm joined after every TBT game by one Mike Brown. Mike, we typically start, as I was anyway, show these shows with weird random question. My question for you involves going back in time, and if I asked you in like June, if you had any idea you would spend a Sunday afternoon watching Jared Sullinger play basketball, what would you have said?
I would have called you nuts, dude. And what's so funny is, like, I'm watching this game, and it's such a wide range of emotions because one says we shouldn't care. It doesn't matter. This isn't a regular season game, a postseason game. But it's a team that if you've watched, like you and I have, every single game, you've fallen in love with. And I mean, look, you either win $1 million or you don't. I was heavily invested in the game today. I don't usually just yell at my TV over just any game. But I'm yelling at the TV like, how in God's name are we letting Jared Sullinger beat us? Like, I mean, the same Jared Sullinger that sucked in the NBA. And, like, he was good today. I mean, what did he have? He had 18 and 8. But he just, U of H had no answer for Jared Sullinger.
So if you're wondering what on earth we're talking about, the Forever Cougs Houston alumni team, I guess unofficial alumni team, was playing in the basketball tournament, a tournament that's a little over a decade old at this point. They got all the way to the championship round where they played Carmen's crew, an Ohio State outfit, led by one Jared Sullinger. The tournament winner got $1 million. There were financial incentives along the way. Like, for winning a region, you get the ticket gate and whatever for that region and stuff like that. Team had a bunch of guys you remember, like Rob Gray, TaShawn Thomas had a big tournament. Justin Gorham, Fabian White joined along the way.
Wes VanBeck.
Wes VanBeck was back to the championship game after a brief ankle injury. I will say it was the kind of thing that going into it, Mike and I both like, this is silly. This has been going on a decade. I know about this guy. I know about basketball peripherally. And then they put a Houston team in, you're like, oh, wait, this is fun. There's nostalgia. Things get, and Houston being good, or the Forever Cougs, I should say, being good was part of the excitement for sure. That way, the championship game, and frankly, there were shots to win that championship game down the stretch. I thought, and then I don't mean to put words in your mouth, so I don't want to say we, but I thought the Forever Cougs looked tired. Rob Gray didn't have the same legs on his floater. They got to be a sloppy game. The final score was in the 60s. This was ugly basketball for someone who likes, made baskets and fluid offense. Kind of, it was grimy and dirty, which typically plays into Houston's favor. But it was not a very attractive game. And I think that was mostly because of the tired legs. Do you think there was more to it than that?
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, everything that is wrong with this team from the U of H standpoint came out today. You're not going to win this type of game when you shoot 3 of 21 from the 3-point line. Now, if you want to call that, blame it on the legs, I'm cool with that. But they haven't shot the 3 well since the beginning of the tournament. And when you play a team as good as this Ohio State team, first of all, props to Ohio State. Carmen's crew, I thought that they played a really solid game today. They matched the intensity of U of H. U of H 5-1 in this tournament. 5 games in a row, the Elam Ending favored U of H, meaning that the style of play that they had during those games benefited U of H more than the other team. I would argue against that today. U of H was down, 5 going into the Elam Ending? Was it 5 or 7?
I think it was 5.
I think it was 5. So U of H had to score 13 points, and Carmen's crew had to score 8. It's a huge difference, especially when you talk about the guys that Ohio State had with Sullinger, their front line played great today. The Elam Ending went against U of H today because of the way that they played up until the Elam Ending, and they still had a shot to win. They were down 67-65. They played great defense on Sullinger in that last possession. He throws some BS shot up and he gets it to go in.
It was a wild shot. He made it. It was a wild shot.
Yeah.
For the folks at home that are like, Elam Ending, what? If you hadn't followed along, Elam Ending is the weird thing in each game that kind of makes this tournament unique. With 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter, whatever the first dead ball is, this time it was a turnover by the Cougs. The first dead ball, they set a score where the leading team score, they add 8 points to it. And in this case, that was adding 8 points, I believe, to 60. So the target score got set at 68, while the Forever Cougs had, what does that mean? They had 55.
55, yeah. And that's huge, too. You bring up a good point. Whoever has the ball heading into the Elam Ending has a tremendous advantage.
Well, and so what the Forever Cougs had done in the past to kind of squelch a run from the team is they call a timeout at 3:59 to make a dead ball happen, so that way it sets the score while the gap is wider.
Exactly.
And the turnover, frankly, if even they get a 2-point jump shot, not the 3-pointer that I think Rob Gray was sizing up to take on that turnover, then it's 57-60 when that dead ball happens, if not different, right?
Right.
So the score gets set at 68. There were a couple of big shots down the stretch. Wes VanBeck had a great look from the left wing, clanked out, all of which would have cut the score tighter. Meanwhile, they're playing tremendous defense on the other end to keep it as close as it was. And Jared Sullinger made through a double team, falling away in the middle of the lane with guys. I mean, TaShawn Thomas and Justin Gorham draped all over him. Tough shot. Guy made it. And because they played to a target score, that was it. Coogs couldn't respond. In a PG way, Mike, when he makes that shot, what's your reaction?
OS. I mean, I'm watching this game, Parker. I'm like, all right, U of H is done. Going into the Elam Ending. I mean, U of H got outplayed the entire second half. They were only down 2 at the end of the first half. Carmen's crew, I should say. I'm sure I'm going to do that throughout the rest of the show. Carmen's crew came out, blitzed them the third quarter, and outplayed them the fourth quarter. But U of H, staying true to who they are, kept the game close enough that, again, they had the game. They needed one more stop. What's so crazy when we say one more stop, if you didn't watch the game, they got 2 stops before that to get them to only being, within 1 stop of needing a 3 to win the game. Look, I hope the university does something for these guys. I don't know that they're going to. I hope that they do, because I think U of H did nothing but impress in this tournament. It was their first time ever in this tournament. And as we're going to talk about, I want them to go back next year, but I want them to put this team together in a different way than they did this year.
I think the university actually owes at least a debt of gratitude in terms of marketing, because every time this team stepped on the floor for 6 games and got to the title game, the conversation was Houston Cougar basketball, the culture Kelvin Sampson has built, the gritty way these guys play, and man, they put this kind of basketball into those guys' DNA, because it clearly translates to when they're even 8, 9, 10, 12 years later, they're still playing like that. That was the conversation the whole time. And I think at least from a good PR perspective, everyone left watching the tournament like, oh man, those Cougars really can play. And I love Rob Gray. I love Fabian. I love watching these guys play basketball. These guys were kind of the lowest end recruits of the Kelvin Sampson era, right? Theoretically, the team 10 years from now is a whole lot different looking. I mean, you're talking about Marcus Sasser in his 30s on the team, right? A whole different kind of crew. Right. Anyway, we can get to all that at the end of the show, I think, as far as what the future of this game and team and tournament and all of that is. But I will say, Mike, that it is the summertime. And as is the summertime, I'm kind of a barbecue guy, like a backyard grill barbecue. You a barbecue guy yourself?
Oh, of course.
So whether you're outside in the barbecue and you're grilling charcoal, propane, that's a fun question today itself, dogs, burgers, briskets, whatever you're doing, all the things that you buy, you have to go buy. And when you buy those things, you got to go to Ibotta, and Ibotta is a free app that lets you earn cash back every time you shop for all of those kinds of things, like your summer barbecues. Earn $100 back on items from groceries to beauty supplies, toys, everything you need, so you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners just $5 for trying Ibotta and using the code LOCKEDONCollege when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app. Start using cashback and use code LOCKEDONCollege. That's IBOTTA in the Google app or Google Play or App Store. Use code LOCKEDONCollege today. Also, I'd point out that while it's the summertime, we're doing those barbecues. I am, for one, going to have to make sure that I am watching what I eat the rest of the year once these summer barbecues are over. And that's why you say you need to head over to Factor, because warmer summer days are calling. And you can fuel up for those days with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. Meet your wellness goals in time for summer thanks to the menu from the chef-crafted meals for options like low-calorie, high-protein, keto, etc. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian-approved to be ready in just 2 minutes. No matter how busy you are, you'll have time to enjoy nutritious, great-tasting meals. With 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week, you'll always have new flavors to explore. Head to factormeals.com/LockedOnCollege50. Use code LockedOnCollege50 to get 50% off your first box and 20% off your next month. That's code LockedOn50 at factormeals.com/LockedOn50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. All right, so Mike, I mentioned the top question of the day was about Jared Sullinger. He was a middle-of-the-road NBA pro, I think, by the best account. He played for the Celtics for a minute. He was an All-American Ohio State, I should point out. Like, he was a good college basketball player. Do you feel like Houston had a problem with big folks? Because I actually feel like to this point that it kind of been a strength for them.
No, I don't think so. I don't think that at all. I think as a team, I think Carmen's career, this is the first game as well that U of H got out-rebounded. That's where they lost this game, was the second chance points. I don't think they had a problem with the front court of Ohio State per se. I think they were tired. I think that's fair. I think that's a fair assessment to the way U of H played today. But no, I think that U of H got to this point. I think they got to this point because they played the way that they played through the first 5 games. And I think they lost today because they played that same style of basketball, but they didn't do it as well as the first 5 games. You know, for example, Justin Gorham today, his worst game of the tournament, even though he had 9 points and 8 rebounds, he was 3 of 9 from the field, including 0 of 4 from the 3-point line. Up until this point, Gorham at least hit a couple shots that you said, okay, we needed that bucket in that moment. I think U of H's bench today, I thought was garbage. And it's crazy to say that because you had 26 points off the bench. But how many shot attempts did you need in order to get those points? 7, 12, 15, 24 shot attempts to score 26 points. That's not good. Nobody shot the ball well today.
Nobody shot the ball well at all for Houston today. And I don't know that was necessarily because of a big guy at the rim either. CA37, who frankly I should point out, thank you for listening to each one of these after TBT games. I feel like you've been on each one. But points out in a comment on the live show that honestly, when I first saw this team, I didn't think they would be this good or much less make it to the championship. Proud of the run. Grateful to see these alums play again. I don't mean to say this and then that did not play very well throughout the tournament. I hope that does not how this comes off or anything like that. But in the game itself, they at least they didn't actually struggle on offense because of the big guy. I think they had kind of bad decision making at times with settling for jump shots and things like that.
Oh,
they had
in that third quarter too.
In the third quarter, big time. They had trouble covering the combination of Caleb Wesson and Jared Sullinger. And Caleb Wesson was a decent college player that had like a G League stint that was very brief and has been in Europe ever since. Jared Sullinger had, I guess, a couple years with the Celtics. If I'm looking at this right, he then played a year for the Raptors 905 G League group and has been, I guess he went overseas but out east.
33 and 15 for those guys today.
Yeah, I mean, that was a lot of front court production. When I really felt like to this point, whether it was Fabian, TaShawn Thomas, Gorham, whoever, even Melvin Frazier, the guy who was helping, I believe, from Tulane, they that was a strength for Houston or for the Forever Cougs, and it kind of got exploited today. And what's funny is, and Fabian's got to be in great shape because he's still trying to make it to the league, I think. Our guys look thin. I don't know how to say, like, our guys look skinny. they look like they got kind of pushed around a little bit. And, Jared Sullinger's got some, he was born in 1992. He's got some old man strength that maybe our guys that are in their mid-20s don't quite have. Like, I just...
Well, and that's crazy, because if you think about the teams that Sampson has built, he's never had that prototypical big man.
Mm-mm.
He's never had that 7-foot defend the rim type of guy, and that's not Sullinger. But it hurts you in this type of tournament to not have that type of guy. Like, Sullinger's that big, thick Big Baby Davis kind of body, and he still has that, and U of H just couldn't match that type of frame often enough in this game. I will not say that Carmen's crew outplayed the U of H team. I refuse to say that.
No, if Houston or if the Forever Cougs team hit a decent percentage of their shots, they win that game running away. They just didn't. And I do think, though, that's interesting by matchups. Sullinger's kind of the first really strong big man they've run into, right? I guess they didn't play a Willie Cauley-Stein or any other 7-footers really, where that was like the go-to guy for their team was a 7-footer.
Right.
Houston won the rebounding battle. Houston won the paint battle. And other matchups because their best players were front court players. Well, I shouldn't say that. Rob Gray was the best player for most of the tournament. But they had great production on their front court, right? And so this one, it was kind of the first time where the other team hung their hat on that. And it seemed apparent that was something that Houston was going to struggle with early. And then Fabian White fouling out really hurt because he was playing really well.
It was tough. Today's game did bring up a very interesting question that I wanted to ask you on the show today. Would you have rather them have lost in the title game or in the first game?
Oh, what's funny is if they lose in the first game, I probably don't get vested in the tournament at all.
So that's why, and I think it's an obvious answer for me. I'm very curious because I think from the podcasting perspective, obviously it benefits.
We get to talk about it every day.
Yeah, I mean, we got 6 shows out of this tournament, which I'm so thankful for. But as a fan, I'm going to be the opposite. I would have rather have them lost in the first game. That's just me, but I'm curious where you come from.
There's a love and love loss kind of thing. I'm a big basketball fan. So like another thing that comes in the Locked On shows is different shows skew different sports. I'm sure people wish I did football better than I do it or what have you. I'm a big basketball fan. And so this was an excuse to watch some summer basketball. If I'm being really honest. I will say, too, that it made me kind of, after the third or fourth game, I started watching other games in the tournament where I don't know that I would have, if they lost the first game, I probably would turn off and watch it again. Like, I probably would not, I definitely would not have watched the championship game today during the Olympics had they not won the first couple games at least. You don't feel that way?
No, I'm saying I do. I mean, it's funny because like if they would have lost in the first game, I'm not watching anything. It hurts, which is why I will never go to a Super Bowl. If my team is in it, I will not go. Like I say that, like that's not like Mike. Why do you say that? No, like seriously, if Miami, I'm a Dolphins fan. Dolphins make the Super Bowl, I'm not going. I cannot watch my football team.
And they're good.
No, they're going to be very good. Listen, I hope they do make the Super Bowl, and I will host the greatest watch party ever. But I will not go. Like, I don't know if I could go see like in a do or die type game. Like it's different in basketball. Like if the Rockets are up 3-1, do I have a chance to go to game 5? I would go.
Yeah, because you're not done. You're not done. Yeah,
but if it's a do or die, I've already done that once for the Rockets in game 7 against the Warriors. I will never do it again.
Oh, that was a rough one too.
Yeah.
So Max Smith is on my side, I think, by saying title game for sure. I think it comes down to a love loss versus never loved at all kind of thing. Like I don't know. I feel like I would have never gotten invested in the thing at all had they not gotten that far.
Of course. And you know what? If it's U of H men's or women's, like their real team, like their official teams, I'm going to vote the title game all day long. But in something like this, I'm like, okay, I got my hopes up for something. And then they lose. And I'm like, I fell in love with this thing. I didn't even know I wanted to love this thing as much as I did.
TI7791 says, heck of a run. Can't we see them again?
Facts.
I think seeing them again is exactly how I want to segue into my third segment. But before we get there, if you are one that is in favor of winning and tired of losing, you got to head over to FanDuel.com and do some winning this summer, because this summer, FanDuel.com is hooking up all customers with a boost or bonus each and every day. That's right, something for everyone every day, all summer long. Odds in the Astros get close to even every day. The AL West is kind of, even after a rough night last night, it still kind of feels like it should be the Astros if they want it. So head over to FanDuel.com and make the most out of the rest of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. All right, so T.I. threw me into my next thing I want to talk about with this was the first year Houston had a team in this. Frankly, some Houston alumni had even been sprinkled into other teams in the past. Like Kyler Edwards played with the Texas Tech alumni team a couple years ago, right? I think Rob Gray had played with an HBCU team from a few years ago because he played at Howard for a year, right? Like, it's not the first time Houston players have been in this. It's just the first time Houston had a team. I ask you, because I think I have an answer for myself, but I think we're both in agreement they should do this every year. Houston should put together a team every year.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I guess my questions for you is, what is the future of this team and program look like? I mean, Rob Gray's got to be the center of it. He's the one that organized the whole thing this year. But what does it look like to you?
Yeah, look, okay, go get Akeem. Go get Clyde. If Elvin Hayes wants to play.
You joke about Akeem. Did you see the video of him working on high school kids the other day? He still moves very well.
He can give you 5 minutes. It's so funny, dude, because, like, I think that they got the team just about right. One guy that 100% needs to be a part of it next year is Galen Robinson. Galen Robinson is the type of floor general that you need, and I love Rob Gray. But you put Galen out there with Rob Gray all of a sudden gets to do more of the off-ball things that he's really good at, cutting to the basket, helping set up the offense. And honestly, I mean, I don't know what the rules are with this, because I really don't think there are much rules. I'd be very intrigued to see what they could do with guys from the current team, right? Like if Kelvin went to them and said, you know what? I want some of my guys to get some extra run this summer. You know, with this NIL rule stuff, why shouldn't he be able to do that? Look at a guy like who's going to be a rookie this year, or a freshman, I should say. Imagine adding like a Mercy Miller to this team.
Letting him run.
You know, just getting some run in, I think could be U of H's best option. You know?
Well, and so I think that's interesting. There is a lot of the rules for who can and can't play actually come from the outside. The basketball tournament doesn't have a whole lot of rules, but like a lot of NBA players in their contract says like limited amount of non-NBA activity in the offseason, right? Or whatever. I don't know what the NCAA would say about current players. I do know that we should point out that both Ladiki Giroux and Galen Robinson were at different points supposed to be on the roster. Ladiki was on the website as far as being on the roster goes. I think both of them had other basketball commitments. Ladiki missed a chunk for Summer League, and I think in trying to make sure he had a shot at the NBA this upcoming season, he didn't participate, don't want to turn a knee or something. Galen's presently, I think, playing in China, I saw somewhere. And so it obviously pretty long commute to get back and forth. I think that the deal there is they were both supposed to be on it. Galen, as an ambassador to this program, I think his face being tied to it would be important.
Yeah.
And Ladiki, I think is the setup kind of guy you're talking about. I think they missed him in a lot of ways for that too.
And you know what? This is not a shout out to the coaching staff. Again, I'll say it every show. I thought the coaching staff did a sensational job with this group of guys. I thought they were a little short at the end of the bench. And I think that this team, the coaching staff did about as good a job as you could ask with the roster that they had. I mean, their first year in this thing, they make it to the title game and they lose by 3 points. And they had a shot. They needed one more stop. They hit a 3, they win this game. That's what this thing came down to. But Galen's a name that comes to the top of mind for who I think could seriously give them a boost. I think Diki Giroux another name, and I apologize. I don't know where he is. I don't know if he's still alive. A name that I haven't heard in a while. Aubrey Coleman. I don't know what Aubrey Coleman is doing today, right now, and that's why I say I don't know if he's still alive. I didn't hear that he died. Right now, okay, so he's in Russia. Aubrey Coleman. Yeah, Aubrey Coleman is the type of guy that could go get you a 20-piece extra crispy with 2 sides and a large drink in this thing. Like, give him the ball and just let him go to work.
He'd be great at this style of basketball for sure.
And he's 36. The guy that we were playing today just turned 44 today. I forget who it was. But 36.
He was their guard, Jeff Gibbs, because he was a D3 guy that played in Ohio.
Yeah.
Lawrence Pay is the head coach, I should point out. He was the coach in charge. There were a couple other people organizationally, but I thought he did a great job. I want to make sure we get his name out there. Obviously, a Houston alum, played at U of H, but he presently coaches at Cy-Fair. He's a player development guy in the player trainer circuit. You see people, and then I guess he's also involved or has been involved with an Adidas high-level girls club team in the Houston area.
I thought he coached his tail off.
I thought he did coach really well for his first time doing this tournament.
Great name in the chat right now, Corey Davis, another guy. I think
Corey Davis would be good. Big, that's the opposite, but good. But so we mentioned Ladiki, Galen, and Corey Davis, and that's kind of I guess they only lost by a couple points, so they don't cover Jared Sullinger today, and so in my head I'm like, is it actually someone like? And I asked you about this in pre-pod. Like does Jonathan Simmons and his broad shoulders coming back help in a weird way? Do you need some muscle mass in there? And I mean, Corey was strong, but he wasn't a giant.
I think the thing is, no matter who you bring in, Sullinger's an NBA guy. I mean, he had a healthy stint in the NBA with the Celtics. I mean, how much more mass do you want from a U of H perspective than Gorham, Fabian White?
Yeah.
I think
TaShawn Thomas. Yeah.
TaShawn Thomas. Levante Pollard, who is like the oldest 30-year-old ever. I thought the guy was like 47 years old. It turns out he's only 30, which is shocking. Like, it feels like he played in like the early 90s for U of H.
What about like a Josh Carlton? Like, do these guys, any recent bigs? No.
I mean, the thing is, maybe, but it's, again, you don't want to reinvent the wheel. You don't want to look at this thing and say, okay, we're going to bring back a whole new slew of guys. You didn't lose this game. Sullinger had 18-8. It's not like the guy had 30-15.
He had 18-8 and he only lost by 4, and he had a shot.
And 18-8 in a game like this feels bigger, and he had a lot of big moments. I don't disagree that they got to bring in some girth, for lack of a better term. I don't think any of the guys that you named are difference makers, but I feel like if you upgrade the guard position, you could just run teams out of the gym with this team. Like, no offense to Chandre Jones and to Wes VanBeck, but if you replace those guys with Galen Robinson, Deke Giroux, and Corey Davis,
we're running a lot.
You're just.
And frankly, I'd recommend a full court press. My other thought were more dynamic wings.
Yeah.
I don't know what Damian Dotson is looking to do these days. I know he's been in and out of the NBA. Bring him on.
Bring him.
And then, not because you did Rockets content, but this is a name that a lot like TaShawn Thomas. When Kelvin Sampson showed up, he actually left the University of Houston to go play at Oklahoma. Bringing in Daniel House, who left Houston famously to go to A&M when all the transition was happening.
Who's the guard that they have now? Oh gosh, why can't I remember his name?
The guard that who has now?
The Rockets in the summer league. He's been with the team, gone up.
Oh,
and down.
Nate Hinton.
Oh, give me Nate Hinton.
Those kind of guys. I think that Damian and Daniel being wing type of guys that are long, rangy, they could cover a lot of posts in this league, honestly, of being 6'6", 6'7". There aren't a whole lot of 7-footers. I think that would act. I don't know what those two guys are trying to do these days professionally, and maybe this would hinder that somewhat. But I think one of those kinds of bodies would be big for this team.
Yeah, no, dude, we're still on. You know, I I laugh because I mean it's the basketball tournament. You know,
Why am I so invested?
Yeah, why are you and I like? We shouldn't spend 5 seconds thinking about this thing because none of the money was going to us. You know, although it should have. We were the only podcast out there that went live after every single
I
of
didn't
the
see anyone
6
else doing
games.
it. I didn't see anyone else.
Okay. University of Houston, #1 podcast right here. Blessed to be a part of it. No, man. I mean, to put a bow on this thing, I'm so happy you and I got to do these shows together. I'm so happy we got to see all of our guys playing together again. I'm so happy that we got, the U of H got some good airtime on Fox, not FS1, not FS2, not streamed online. Fox 26 was putting out the basketball tournament in a god-awful court that they were playing on. I mean, even on Fox Sports, that thing is one of the ugliest courts I've ever seen.
It was bad.
And,
it was
just
bad.
Props to the guys, man. I mean, I thought that they played their hearts out. I was proud as heck of them. Guys like Justin Gorham, and we give him crap. But Wes VanBeck, Mr. I'm never going to pass up an open shot ever.
Never.
If we would have won today, I would have called Chandre Jones and Melvin Frazier honorary Cougs. I mean, if they want to show up,
I kind of still want to hand it to them. I kind of still do.
I'm not doing it. Listen.
I thought Melvin played really well.
Oh, I thought he did too. No, absolutely. And I'm saying if he wants to come and show up at Fertitta Center, if I see him, I'm going to dap him up and be like, "Hey, good job, good effort. I'm going to need a little bit more next time." Okay, I'm still making them pay for a ticket if they want to come to a game this year. If they would have won this thing, I'd have been like, "Hey, come on in." But negative. Pay the price, we all pay.
We've had fun with this. I will say, Max Smith opened up the chat with asking about if we had anything about the AD. We're going to be more at traditional Locked On Coug stuff the rest of the week, summer, and into football season. I haven't had a whole lot of information about the new AD, except that there was some Twitter beef between JD and Chris Baldwin about whether or not Oliver Luck was a candidate or not, which is awkward because I like both of those guys. They're both nice guys.
Listen, just hire Case Keenum and let's just be done with this thing. Okay,
I would love that.
It's weird because I wanted him to be the head coach before they brought Willie Fritz in, and I love Willie Fritz. I love what I've seen from Willie Fritz. Listen, Keenum says, "Hey, I want to do this job at the University of Houston." Come on, bring him. We're in.
Keenum can at least come coach the offense or the quarterbacks or something.
Of course, absolutely.
I'm Parker Ranger. This is Locked On Coogs every day. Mike, you have all kinds of things going on all the time. Beer Sports Whatever is truly a conglomerate of a lot of different things. What you got going on these days?
Hey, man, every Thursday on my Facebook and my Twitter at Mike Brown _2020. Catch Beer Sports Whatever with my father and I breaking down everything in the world of beer, sports, and whatever. We've got some sensational content coming out. We're not going to give you all the stats. Okay, we're not going to tell you yards after catch. We're going to tell you what our eyes see. Okay, about all these games, about all these teams, all these games. Okay, what we're seeing. Come chop it up with us every Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Central Time from now until forever.
Yes, it's beer, sports, and whatever.
Exactly.
I love it. It's a fun time when Mike does it. Whenever Mike does stuff, it's a fun time. So make sure to go check out that stuff as well. Locked On Cougs is a daily podcast about the Houston Cougars. If you're looking for a second listen of the day or evening, I am recommending Locked On Big 12 with all kinds of questions about what is going on in Big 12, who's coming in, who's going out. Drake's doing a great job of covering that and more over there. Locked On Cougs is primary the Locked On Podcast Network. Means your team, our Cougs forever, each and every day. Go Cougs.